Troush. I'm the Assistant Director of Financial Aid for the new incoming students. So you've probably either heard of me or even listened to the webinars that I put on in the fall or Special Programs Day. You've heard my name thrown around a little bit. And so I'm going to go through the financial aid piece of it kind of quickly because I feel that Ann's information about the billing, the next steps, is what's really important at this point in our journey. And so, and I always say that, and then I go over my time. So I'm still going to rush through. I've been practicing. Here's our contact information. I also have business cards on the back table if you'd like to grab one of my business cards. The reason I just say Harper Center here on the bottom is because we are going to be temporarily relocating. We'll still be in this building, but we're going to move down. We're currently right by Card Services where your students were getting their IDs today or getting their pictures taken today. We're right there, but we're going to move while they're doing construction in the building up to the second floor. So we'll still be on second floor when school starts in the fall, but you'll be able to find us if you need us. If you plan to apply for financial aid but have not yet completed the FAFSA, it's not too late to apply. Also, the FAFSA, and I have this on your paper presentation, but it's not up here. The whole you must reapply every year, that's if you're interested in need-based aid. If you just filed the FAFSA this year because somebody told you to, but you're not interested in the loan opportunities that are available through the FAFSA process, that to get the scholarships is not required to file a FAFSA each year. But if you ever question it or have concerns about filing the FAFSA, we can always help you out with that anytime. The federal government selects about 33% of all FAFSA filers nationwide for a process they call verification. Essentially, it's a financial aid audit. And so if we've selected, or if they've selected your student's FAFSA for the verification process, then we would have asked you for additional documentation to verify the accuracy of the information on your FAFSA. So please return that to us as soon as possible if you've been selected. If you're not sure, please feel free to come down to our office tomorrow and we can check on that for you to see if we're missing anything. If your students need to provide us with any additional information to get going, we can definitely look that up for you. And we're open all day tomorrow. I think technically our designated time is during the campus expo. We don't have a booth, but our office is open, and so you can come in anytime during that time. Like I said, I'm there all day tomorrow, and my day is dedicated to this summer preview event, so you can come in anytime and be happy to go over any missing information or missing requirements with you and your student. I wanted to put this slide in here just because I think it's important to go through these charges again. And again, on your printout, I actually have the numbers for these particular cost of attendance budget components, but I didn't get that part done until after I had to submit the presentation. So that's why it's not on the board. But for the tuition and fees, the tuition and mandatory student fees comes to $41,400 for next year. Now, students that are in the College of Nursing and College of Business have some additional class-related fees or packet fees that are involved with that we've told you about. They're just not in that general $41,400. The room and board, if your student is planning to live on campus, is $11,674. Although if they do get assigned to Swanson Hall, there is a slight increase in that cost of about $165 per semester, I think. If your student ends up getting assigned to or has selected Swanson Hall as their option. Books and supplies, we estimate that your students are going to spend about $1,200 for the year, roughly $600 per semester on books. If you haven't heard yet, we are getting a new bookstore company, and therefore a redesign of the bookstore. We've currently been using Follett for the past, I've been here 15 years, and I think it's been at least that long. And so our bookstore will now be a Barnes & Noble campus bookstore. And so we're really excited about that, and we're looking forward to some new opportunities for students through that program. We don't know what yet, but we're looking forward to new opportunities. So more information is going to come out about the new bookstore partner in early July. So be watching for that to come either to your student's email or your email or both, or even that might be mailed. I'm not sure how the communication is coming out. My assumption is via email. We also factor in a personal expense allowance into your student's cost of attendance budget. Now, of course, we don't charge a charge or assess a charge to the student's tuition bill for personal expenses. It's just the things that come up along the way that your student spends money on, like going to the movies with their friends or chipping in $5 for pizza on a Friday night. Those are the kinds of things that would be included in those personal expenses. Transportation is also another variable expense that we take into consideration depending on where you are from, what regional area you're from. So the further away from campus you are, the higher cost of a transportation budget allowance, a budget component, is factored into your students' overall cost of attendance budget. And then the financial aid that goes along to hopefully pay for those things in the cost of attendance budget would be any scholarships that your student was offered by the Office of Admissions upon admission into the university. And then the financial aid information that would have come a little bit later, such as the grants, work study, and loans. The grants are additional free gift aid that students are eligible to receive based on the results of the FAFSA. So you would have had to file a FAFSA, and we would have determined your student's eligibility for grant funding, whether it's through the Creighton University grant or other types of grants through federal and state opportunities that are available. There are also loan options that are available if you filed a FAFSA and received a financial aid package. You should be well aware of these. There's a Creighton undergraduate institutional loan program, which is money that your students will borrow directly from Creighton if they choose to do so. Information recently came out about how to complete the master promissory note requirements for that. So if your student has not yet done that, now's the time to start thinking forward for those types of things. Up until this point, it's been, got to get through the semester, get graduated, get through my party. Now it's time to start thinking about the things that go along with preparing for college, like some additional paperwork and those types of things. There are also federal direct loan opportunities available, and these can be in the form of need-based loans or subsidized, or any student that has filed a FAFSA can qualify for unsubsidized loan funds. So the difference between the two is that the subsidized loans are need-based, therefore no interest will accrue on that loan for as long as your student is enrolled in college. So that would go for periods of undergraduate enrollment as well as beyond into a graduate or professional degree program. Unsubsidized loans do accrue interest while your student is in school, and the new interest rate that's going to be in effect for the 1920 academic year is 4.53%. The Creighton undergraduate institutional loan is also a need-based loan, so no interest accrues on that loan for as long as your student is enrolled at Creighton. Once your student is no longer enrolled at Creighton, then that interest will begin to accrue at 6%, and that's a fixed rate as well. Many of your students have been fortunate enough to have received outside scholarships, and so if this is the case, it's really important to notify the financial aid office of these outside resources that we should expect to be coming in, just so that we are watching for them and know that they are going to be here. Also, many donors require that your student provides them with proof of enrollment, and that's what I can do starting tomorrow for your students, is provide these donors with proof of your student's registration and intent to enroll, planning to come to Creighton University in the fall. I can usually get those done. There are a few donors that require an official stamp or seal from the university, and we don't have one of those in the financial aid office, so I send those up to the registrar's office. But usually either one of us can submit proof of registration to the scholarship donor for your students. There are some times when a scholarship donor actually wants to see an official copy of your student's bill, and so if that's the case, then it's important to get that scholarship information and that request to the business office as soon as possible, so that information can be exchanged and the funds can be released and paid toward your student's bill in a timely manner. In some instances, it's very rare that this happens, but there are changes that are required to be made based on the receipt of an outside scholarship. So if we've already met your student's full demonstrated financial need, I may have to make some adjustments to federal need-based aid. And so if you're concerned that an outside scholarship may impact your student's financial aid package, please come see me tomorrow so we can walk through that together. What we won't change would be any free money or any gift aid like grant funding or scholarship funding, but there are instances when outside resources do impact those federal subsidized loans or the work study opportunity. And so I'd rather sit down and have that conversation now than have you calling me screaming in September because I was required to make adjustments to the financial aid package at that time because we weren't aware of the scholarship funds coming in. So the earlier we know about it, the more flexibility we have. Some other financing options that families consider when paying for college, There is a federal direct parent plus loan that is an option, and that would be loan funding that you as a parent would borrow in your name to help pay for your son or daughter's education. And that would be money that would be borrowed directly from the federal government, and there's an application process for that, and I can provide some more information about that if that's a loan that you're considering to take out for your students. There's also loan opportunities available through the private sector. We either refer to them as alternative student loans or private student loans. And I also have resources available to help guide you through that process as well. It can be pretty daunting if you're looking for student loan opportunities for your student and Google student loan opportunities or just student loans, you're going to get 10 to 20 million hits. And so what I can do is provide you with information that narrows that down into an easily accessible resource and tool to look into what some of these other options are. So I'm actually going to put a piece of paper or a pad of paper on the back table with a pen. If you'd like for me to email you that information, I'd be happy to do that, and I'll get that email out to you tomorrow. Just like I said, putting this information into a more condensed, easy to follow, guided type of email. Some other ways families pay for college. Some families have 529 college savings plans, Coverdell, UGMA, those types of things. Personal loans, families go to banks, their personal bank, and get loan funding that way. Employer tuition assistance is another option for some, not for everyone. And then we also have a payment plan option, and Anne's going to talk about that a little bit more during her portion of the presentation. But we do also have brochures back on our back table that walk through every detailed step of how to sign up for the payment plan. Just a little bit more about these other payment options or ways to come up with the funding. Really, when it comes to any of these personal types of options, that requires action on your part to actually reach out to your 529 plan holder and say, how do I request the funds? They might want a bill. They might want a copy of your student schedule. They might just say, how much do you need? And they send it to you. So it just, everyone's a little bit different when it comes to the requirements for 529 plans or other educational savings plans. Same with home equity, line of credit, personal bank loans, those kinds of things. You want to speak with your personal banker about those options and what might be a good option for you. Do you borrow for 1 year? Do you borrow for all 4? Those kinds of things would be something you'd want to discuss with a personal banker, with your home equity mortgage person, or employer tuition assistance programs to speak directly with your either HR is who we speak with about tuition benefits and that sort of thing, or at least your supervisor to see if you have any tuition benefits that are available. And with that, I actually stayed within my time for the first time, and I will turn it over to Anne to talk about the billing process.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Ann O'Dowd, and I'm here to represent the business office. Our office is located in Creighton Hall, which is the older building right next to St. John's Church. So feel free to stop in tomorrow if you'd like to visit with someone one-on-one. Or if you get home and think of any questions, you can always give us a call or shoot us an email. We're here to try and help make this as painless as possible. And we will have a representative at the information booth tomorrow. She'd love to have you stop by and say hi. She is the person that actually manages the payment plan program for us. So if you're thinking about that and have any questions, she'll be right there to answer anything that you might need to have help with. So one of the main responsibilities that we have in the business office is to create and issue the billing statements for our students. We do that on a semester basis. So this first billing statement that will go out in mid to late July will be for the fall semester. And we partner with a company called Nelnet Campus Commerce to handle both our billing statements and our payments online. So you'll be getting an email if your student has signed you up as an authorized party on the Nelnet site, and Melissa will have detailed instructions on how the students can go about doing that tomorrow at the info booth. So it will definitely be emailed to your student, if they have not signed you up yet, then there's a link that you will click on to go into the Nelnet site to actually see the itemized statement. So don't just stop at the email and see the lump sum of how much the balance is due. Go ahead and click on that link. It does say make a payment, but you're not required to make a payment at that point. It's just getting you to the site where you can make a payment. We will not be sending out any paper statements through the mail, so be watching for those emails in mid to late July. And then there is an option that you can go ahead and print that off if you choose to. It's available usually 24/7, but we have had some issues with our connection the last 2 or 3 days, which are now fixed. So if you tried to look at it during the last 2 or 3 days, you might have run into a little snag, but it's now fixed. So these are the things that you would expect to see on a billing statement. Tuition and fees, room and board, which means meals, health insurance. I want to just take a minute to talk about health insurance. The university does require all of our full-time students to be covered by a health insurance plan. That does not mean that you have to use the Creighton plan. If you're going to keep your son or daughter on your own plan, that's fine. You just need to make sure that you go in online and do a waiver of this requirement. And I always recommend that if you're going to do the waiver, go ahead and get that done right away so that you don't, by chance, forget about it. You're going to get really busy this summer. So go ahead and take care of that waiver process. There is a deadline to waive that. This year it is September 7th. And if for some reason you don't have that waiver processed by then you will be required to be on the Creighton plan for the entire year. So it's really important to get that waiver done. Freshmen will be assessed an orientation fee that is $160, and that will be on the fall bill only. If they're taking a lab course, then there will be a lab fee. Sometimes we do have book charges on the bill. Certain professors like to have all of their students have the same book at the same time, and so if you see a book charge, for instance, in the past we've done biology books, so if you see that, you should receive a notification before that happens, but if you see that, that's the reason why. Sarah's already talked about the financial aid awards and the outside scholarships, but one thing I would like to mention about outside scholarships, and that is if you know that your son or daughter is getting a scholarship from an outside source, it will only appear as a credit on the billing statement in July if Creighton has already received that money. But we don't want you to go ahead and pay if you know there's a scholarship coming in. Just take that into consideration when you determine what your out-of-pocket expense is. So subtract that amount of the scholarship, and then we'll wait for those funds to arrive at Creighton. This is an example of what our billing statement looks like. This is actually a statement from last year, so the cost and the amounts will be different. But I wanted to point out, just to give you an idea of what to expect to see, all of the line items are itemized. Notice that there is an enrollment reservation credit on this statement for $350. If your son or daughter is going to be living in the residence hall, you paid a deposit of $350. $100 of that is actually a damage deposit. So also notice that there's a $100 housing damage fee in the left column. So to offset, we place a charge of $100. That damage deposit is held in a holding account until the student actually moves out of the residence hall, whether it's 2 years or 4 years down the line. And then if there has been no damage to the room, they'll get a refund at that point. So you're really only showing a $250 class deposit as a credit toward this bill. Here are your payment options. As I mentioned, our partner Nelnet provides an option for online payments using either an e-check or an e-credit card. If you choose to use an e-credit card, that's the last line at the bottom, shows you which ones are acceptable. And I do want to point out that they will assess a 2.75% convenience fee if you choose to use an online credit card. If you pay with an online check, there is no additional fee. You can always mail in a check, or our office hours are listed there. We will be open on move-in Saturday from 10 to 2, and you're welcome to stop by then. Or we also offer a payment plan. So our payment plan is referred to as the MET plan. It stands for Monthly Electronic Transfer, and this is the brochure that Sarah was mentioning. You can find these at the back table. Basically, this is just an option. We do require payment for each semester at the time the semester starts, or you can be on a payment plan to spread those payments out over a few months. The payment plan will open July 1st, which will give you an opportunity to have your first payment come out of your checking or savings account in August, either on the 1st or the 10th. And then you would have the option of having 5 monthly payments, August through December. You don't have to sign up then. You can wait until you actually receive the bill, and then you can sign up for 4 payments, which would start in September and run through December. So again, this is just an option. It's certainly not a requirement. It is an electronic payment that is taken out of your checking or savings account. If you choose to do a payment plan, you will receive a notification about 5 days before your payment would be withdrawn from your bank account, notifying you or reminding you that this is going to happen. There's no interest to be assessed for the payment plan, but there is a $25 application fee per student per semester. So you're signing up on a semester basis if you choose to do so. Melissa is our coordinator, and she is more than happy to help you through any questions you might have if you decide to take advantage of that payment plan option. Now, sometimes financial aid actually overpays a student account. We often see this with Parent Plus loans. If that's the case, we really encourage our students to sign up for a direct deposit of refunds, and I'm going to show you the actual student account menu of the Nest in just a minute, which will show you where they can do that. Or we can hold the credit for the spring semester, but we would need a request in writing to do that. Otherwise, if it's just student financial aid that is overpaying the balance, then we'll automatically refund to the student. If there's a plus loan involved, we will refund to you as the parent borrower. So whoever is the parent borrower can select to have their student receive a refund. If you choose to, there is an option on the Parent Plus application form that you can check to notify the university that it's okay for us to refund any excess funds to the student. Or if you do the application and then later on decide that's how you want that refund to be handled, we would just need an email telling us to do that. Otherwise, our standard procedure would be to issue a paper refund check to the parent borrower. We don't have the capability of doing an electronic refund to parents. So it usually takes at least a week to 2 to get the refund out to you in the mail. So if it's just a small overage, a lot of times parents just will go ahead and select that option to give the refund to the student. And if they're signed up for a direct deposit of refunds, that goes really quickly back into their bank account. This is the Nest, the student accounts menu of the Nest. So you'll notice the second line is where the students would sign up for a direct deposit of refunds. The third line is where they can go in and view the account information, e-bills, and pay tuition online. They can sign up for the MET plan, or you can go in and sign up for the MET plan through this same site. The next one, authorize your parent or others to view your information. This is really, really, really important. I can't stress that enough. We are required to abide by FERPA, which is the Federal Rights to Privacy Act for students. So unless they actually go into the nest and put your information in as an authorized user, if you call us, then we're not going to be able to talk to you in detail. We can talk to you in generalities, but that's not what you're calling for. You're calling for us to give you help with the details. So please remind them that this is very important. Melissa will also have a brochure that has step-by-step directions on how to do that, but it's really critical for them to do that for you. Health insurance, this is where you can waive health insurance. The student meal plan site is where they can go in and make a change to their meal plan. If they're not happy with the one that they selected during the first week of classes, then they can go in and make a change. Another thing I'd like to point out that's not appearing here because it's not open yet, and that is the parking permit site. So it is scheduled to be open on July 15th. If students are going to plan to have a vehicle on campus, they do need a parking permit. So they'll go in at that site. It's usually a little red car that shows here. And they'll go in, fill in their car information, and then that charge, which is $360, will appear on the fall billing statement. That $360 is actually for the entire year, but it's billed on the fall billing statement. After classes begin, if there is still an open balance, we will send out reminders, same type of schedule, so you'll get an email telling you that a statement is available to view. It'll go automatically to the student's Creighton email address and to you if they've signed you up as an authorized party. So it's 2 signups, one for FERPA, which is authorized users, and then the second one is so that you'll get a billing statement notification. Late fees are assessed monthly. That would not be applicable if we're holding the balance open for an outside scholarship. It's an automatic process that the computer does, so we may assess a late fee to the account if there's a scholarship pending, but then we'd go back in later and waive that late fee, so don't be concerned if you see that. Students, as I mentioned, we do require payment at the time classes begin, so keep in mind that if you're not able to do that, then you'll want to sign up for the payment plan. And then I just have this as a reminder that if there is an unpaid balance at the time students go to register, there will be a hold on their registration, so we always want to avoid that if at all possible. But keep in mind that you can always give us a call with any of your questions, and I really appreciate your attention. I know it's a lot of information,